What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. Major 1 qualifier starts tomorrow. I'm going to make a video, get my week 1 predictions in for y'all. Let's dive in and discuss. All right, so like a couple of things to note here. We haven't seen any of these teams play a real competitive match, so I'm gonna make these predictions. I might be way off because I don't really know what maps teams are good at, what game modes in general teams are good at. How some of the meta is gonna kind of evolve when people play real competitive matches. I've been on record saying like ping doesn't matter, but sometimes it gets in the mental of some of these players. So there's a lot of like external factors. I'm just trying to hedge and say I might go like 0-12 this week. But we're gonna start off with Boston versus FaZe. It's the first match of the season. I like the new Boston team with Big Weight coming in, and FaZe obviously made a change bringing in Slasher. But Boston's record against FaZe is ugly. 0-4 and a 1-12 map count ugly. And the only map that they won was a Berlin S&D in the beginning of the season. I'm actually going to though spot Boston 2 maps because FaZe has been shaky to start series in the season. Their kickoff classic records are not good. I do think FaZe will clutch it game 5, but I think Boston will get in some trouble in this series. We might have a real classic one to start the season, but I have FaZe edging it. All right, next up we have OPTIC versus Rocker. This is a tough one to call because again, early in the season, not really sure where these teams net out. I believe Minnesota's playing from Texas now, so this is a Texas v Texas, should be on like 0 ping. I'm gonna go ahead and give OPTIC the 3-1. I actually could see this going the other way to Rocker, but I think for OPTIC, again, the theme we're going to talk about a lot this season is the last dance. I don't see them losing the opening match of the season, and this is a big one if they can take this because they got Florida coming later, and we'll talk about that. They can get off to a really hot start, but I think OPTIC will come correct in this match. But for Minnesota, they may be competitive across all 4 of these maps. All right, we got Vegas Legion versus the Los Angeles Thieves. Thank God I didn't say Paris there. Again, this one's a little bit of an interesting matchup because of how good Vegas is playing recently. We know Thieves are the defending champions. I really wanted to talk myself into picking Vegas in this one, but I can't. I think they're going to force the game 5 and then lose another toughie. I think the thing for Thieves is I just can't pick against them in game 5s. They've come so good now in S&D as a squad, especially at the end of last season. So I just think for me, without like any real knowledge of how these teams are going to play in a competitive match, I'm going to pick Thieves to clutch it. Last up, we have LAG versus Seattle. Interesting matchup. A lot of people have been pretty low on LAG. I've been one of those people, to be honest. I'm going to do something a little funky here. I'm actually going to say that LAG take this 3-1. I got to pick at least one upset. Can't pick all chalk on day 1. I think we'll pick the one that's a little bit of surprise. I think Seattle probably can match up pretty well against LAG, but maybe the LAG boys come in with some solid momentum on Friday and get it done. But I just wanted to pick one upset and screw it, we'll do it with LAG. Honestly, for me, I've been trying to talk myself into a FaZe or a Thieves upset loss the last couple of days. I just really couldn't do it. We'll have LAG do that one on day 1. All right, to kick off day 2 of the CDL season start, we've got an absolute banger. Battle for the North, Fugaze, Rocker versus Ultra. This rivalry is always amazing. I think also as well, you've got Scrappy in the mix on this now. So you've got a lot of player transfers between Toronto and Minnesota in the offseason. Like there's now starting to get real momentum behind this becoming a rivalry. The 2 teams like to say that it's the Battle for North that's a rivalry. I don't know if it's got the intensity yet to be like, a real old school rivalry, but they're getting there. For me, Toronto is one of those teams that I'm expecting to be like pretty good to start the season. I think for Rocker, I do think they will come up a little bit short, but this will be a classic game 5er. I'm going with Toronto in 5. Tough 0-2 week for Rocker, but it gets a little bit better in later weeks. And if you go 2-2, it's not too bad. Also, by the way, if they win this, Scrappy better do the interview. CDL producers, I know who you are. I'm sure you're already thinking about it, but we got to get some Scrappy promos like the first weekend. Those clips are going to hit Diffie on Twitter for sure. All right, we got the Subliners versus the London Royal Ravens. It's like a handful, LRR, whatever. Anyway, completely kind of new look London, completely new look to an extent New York team. This one's pretty gritty. Like I don't know how to really call this one. I had heard that London was playing really poor in scrims up until like last week, and they've had a couple of really good days. And New York's been solid, so I don't really know how this one goes. I'm going to roll the dice again. We got to pick one unquote upset. And I'm going to do it in this series with the London. Oh my God, it's a handful. London Royal Ravens taking this one 3-1 against New York. Tough would be a tough L for New York, but I'm going to give London at least one series. Actually, I can see how London goes 2-0, but we'll get to that in a sec here. All right, Seattle versus Boston. For me, this is an interesting matchup because there are 2 teams where they have a lot of like really good go rogue players, so it's kind of the battle of that. I don't really know how to call this one either. Like this is another one of those matchups where I'm just like, I don't like off the top of my head thinking about, I'm not coming in with like clear favor between these two teams. So in order to tie break it, I'm going to go back to last season where Boston was 3-0 against Seattle last year. So let's go ahead and say that Boston take that 3-1. It's hard to pick any 3-0s right now, guys and gals, but I'm going to give Seattle at least one of these map skis, and we will have Boston going 1-1 on their first week. Not too shabby. Florida versus Vegas will close out our second day, and I said I wasn't going to do any 3-0s, but I think we're going to do it in this series. I've heard Florida's been having a real trouble in scrims. I think they're a team that might play better at the event, but I think Vegas do get the 1-1 week and get it done against Florida. Wouldn't be too bad of a start for them. All right, to start off Sunday, we've got LA Gorillas versus the London Royal Ravens. This is the ASIM Bowl right here. I am going to go with London. Surprise, 2-0 start to the season, 3-2 over the LA Gorillas. Although LAG, if my predictions are right, will go 1-1, which I think is probably a pretty good start for them. But London, surprise, 2-0 start. Texas and Florida will be your second match, and I think the misery continues for Florida. I think they take one map against this squad, but they go 0-2. OPTIC starts off 2-0 for Major 1. It's hard for me to see any matchups here where I really favor Florida until I see more of their play style and if they're going to be like an old Florida team where they can lose or win to everybody. But on paper, it's hard for me to see a lot of dubs for them right now. We got an absolute heater. Grand Finals rematch from Call of Duty Champs will be your third match on Sunday. LA Thieves versus Atlanta FaZe. Honestly, Thieves kind of dominated these matchups at the end of the season. FaZe had their number earlier on in the season. Kind of hard to see where this one sort of nets out. There's a lot of bad blood between these teams. Just like the Toronto Minnesota thing, I think the Thieves FaZe rivalry might kind of boil over the season. You saw it at times with the whole Draza thing after Champs. There's some bad blood between these teams. I am by default just going to go with a team that won COD Champs. I'm going to pick Thieves 3-2 in a classic, but this could go either way. And again, I think you're going to see this matchup a lot this season, especially on Sundays at events. A lot of emotion potentially in this one. And finally, last match of the weekend, Toronto Ultra versus New York. And I am all in on my boy Scrappy. I'm all in. I think these guys are going to get off to a great start this season. It would be a tough 0-2 start for New York, but things, again, I've talked about how these first 2 weeks, like if you don't play particularly well, it's okay. The event's really more important. I am going to go ahead and let me think about this. Am I going to spot New York a map or so? Let's give them one. We'll go with Toronto 3-1 as my final prediction for the weekend. Yeah, overall good list. I'm sure I'm going to completely whiff on these predictions because this is impossible without knowing how these teams play and what maps they like and yada, yada, yada. But feel free to roast me on Monday if you don't like my predictions. And yeah, that'll do it for this video. Chat, let me know in the comments what you think about some of these predictions. I'm sure some of you guys will have some strong thoughts. This weekend, I'm going to try something a little different. We're going to be over the course of the weekend doing a bunch of YouTube shorts style, like kind of instant react stuff coming after each match weekend. So like basically after each match day before the flank starts, I'm going to just like cut out like a 1-minute video where I just give like a 5-10 second blurb on each match. I think it's going to be much better content for me and my editor to roll out like quickly over the course of the weekend just because of how fast things are, and it will also work better like when we get to event weeks, and I can't cover every single match on that content. So we're gonna try that out this weekend. Make sure you stay tuned for that. That'll be here on my channel on shorts category as well as on TikTok if you don't already follow me there. As always, like if you enjoyed the content, subscribe for more, y'all, and we'll see y'all in the next one. The season starts tomorrow. Let's get it, y'all. Stay tuned.